So we're going to click on databases, and then I'll put it on YouTube too so that y'all can like refresh with it as well. So as you can imagine, we have like literally thousands of subscription databases. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. One thing that I really, really love that Rutgers Libraries has done is that we have created like little tracks for our databases, and we've organized them based on the topic or the subject matter. So for some of us, I think almost all of us, I would say actually, we as social scientists end up overlapping a little bit with, you know, things like gender studies or racial justice or education or public health. We end up kind of migrating into those. But we've got like a really nice social work category to start with. And what I really love is that we put like the best bets, so the most highly recommended or the most used based on our expertise, databases for that subject. So do any of these look familiar up here at the top? Let me zoom in a little. ProQuest. Yeah, PsycInfo, does that sound familiar to anybody? This Family and Society Studies Worldwide is an EBSCOhost database, if anybody's heard of EBSCOhost. Does that ring a bell? Yeah, so these are all companies, right? So it's sort of like EBSCOhost is Spotify, PsycInfo is Apple Music, and ProQuest is YouTube Music, right? So they're all different companies providing this subset of content in a particular topic, right? So that's really nice, and I think if you don't already have a preference for a scholarly database, this is a really great place to just go and start exploring. Let me just open a couple of these to show you some of the differences here. Oh, oops, let me. How are we feeling about this so far? Okay. Let me open one from down here too. Do an EBSCO. And then I want to do, I'll do Web of Science too. Okay, so here's a couple different databases. ProQuest, we see search bars, we see some filter looking things. Ovid, PsycInfo, which is our APA PsycInfo here. We see different layout, but like similar components, right? We see search bar, we see some filters. EBSCO, same thing. And this is like what I like to tell people who are just putting their foot in the door with like heavy duty scholarly research with these databases. They all look really different. But as long as you have a search bar and you have filters, you know what to do, because those things behave the same way regardless of what this looks like. So you can kind of trust that as you build those skills, which we'll talk about some of those skills in a minute, you can kind of trust that it's going to behave the same way, even if things are moving around or words are different or the layout looks different than the one that you used previously. Okay, so databases, let's talk about some of that like efficiency and effectiveness stuff. So actually, before I do that, I think this is a good time to talk about Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is not a subscription database because it is owned by Google. So it's technically free to everyone. Although when you click on articles, a lot of times you get a paywall, right? You get that like, give us your firstborn child in exchange for this article. And you're like, please, please. Let's talk about paywalls for a second. While you're in grad school here, please, 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 please do not pay for an article. Don't do it. You don't have to. You might have to pay for some books. Books are a little trickier, but articles, please do not pay $40 for an article. I'm begging you. I can get it for you. I think there's been one instance in my 4 years of being a librarian where I haven't been able to get something for someone. So So that being said, Google will show you paywalls and stuff, but you're a graduate student at Rutgers University Libraries, or you have access to Rutgers University Libraries through your status as a grad student. So we reroute things through Rutgers University Libraries so that you can, access that even through Google Scholar. So how do you do that? You're going to go to your settings. And again, I will post this recording on YouTube, and I'll send it to Abdul to put on Canvas too. But you're going to go to your settings, and you're going to go to library links here. You're going to search Rutgers, and then you'll be able to click it here and just save it as your library. Then when you type in Anthony, right? I'm using Anthony's topic. When you type in a set of search terms in Google Scholar, you'll now see this little get it at R here. This get it at R, if you click on it, reroutes the search for that article through Rutgers Library and then pulls it up without the paywall. So that's really, really nice. It's a really nice way to make sure that you don't have to do that. And if you still hit a paywall, that is a time to shoot me an email and be like, hey, can you help me find this? And then I can help. I have a lot of ways, which if we have time, we can talk about some of those ways too.
So it's Google Scholar settings,
Mm-hmm.
and then links.
Library links, yeah. Yeah.
My body can't share anymore. I'm just gonna sit on the floor.
Okay. Yeah, these chairs are not very comfy. I spent a week sitting in these chairs, and I needed a massage afterward.
They're kind of deceptively bad.
Yeah, they are. And we had we recently had a journal club where we talked about accessibility in libraries, and literally everyone was like, these chairs. Yeah. Okay, so that's Google Scholar using using the library to empower Google Scholar to avoid paywalls, right? But how does Google Scholar differ from these other databases that we've been talking about? Right off the bat, does anybody think they know of any reasons?
Google search is like everything ever.
Everything ever, it is. Yeah, so it is crawling the entire internet, right? As opposed to a subset of articles that have been gathered, curated by a database, right? So if we think about it, it's like searching YouTube versus searching Spotify. You know what I mean? YouTube is, anyone can upload. Spotify is creators with albums. Yeah, so it's everything ever. What do you think are some of the advantages and disadvantages of that?
Finding something that's credible versus somebody who just decided they wanted to write something.
Yes, yes. And I think for y'all, your doctoral students, that probably is pretty you have to do that. You have to assess evidence and, make decisions on credibility as part of your careers, I'm guessing, a lot of you. So that, I worry about that a little bit more with someone who hasn't done that as part of their job. But yeah, it's definitely you have to sift, right? You have to really sift through stuff that might be more quality than other things. What about advantages though? Yeah.
I'm thinking folks with lived experience and those who don't have access to publishing.
Yes, and I think if you think about access in terms of who historically gets published and who historically gets to rise up the ranks of academia, it's cis white men. And so if we are only searching the places where cis white men get prioritized as their voices get prioritized, then we're missing, a lot of the experience and a lot of other ways that we can express expertise on a topic. Yeah. And I do love Google Scholar for that because there are things conference proceedings and institutional repositories and people's individual academic websites where they might publish stuff. So for instance, let me try to find one here. Yeah, so I people's theses, people's dissertations that might not have gotten published into a book or a journal article end up here, which is really nice. So
It also falls outside of social work.
yes.
It's not as narrow.
Yes, definitely.
That's why I've sometimes used it.
Yeah, I agree. My kind of go-to now is to do one or two, when I do a research project where I really need to search and find a set of articles, is I'll do like one or two of our subscription databases, and then I do Google Scholar in addition to kind of cover crawling beyond that kind of limited scope of what academia considers expertise, and also like what the database might have as like a content area. So yeah, I think that's like really great advice. Yeah, so that's Google Scholar, and like some of its power and some of its like both huge advantages and drawbacks. But my advice is always like, don't get too comfy with just one. You know, don't be like Google Scholar's bad and never use it, because I think that that's a disadvantage. It's a really powerful tool, but also, you know, don't be like the only thing that I'm using is Google Scholar, because there's also powerful tools that are, you know, very focused in the form of those scholarly databases. Yeah. How do we feel about that? Did that kind of answer your question about? Cool. Yeah, no problem. Okay. What time is it? 3:47. Okay, we're good. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. So let's talk about the that like efficiency and effectiveness kind of stuff. So before I went to library school, I would spend hours and hours and hours trying to find articles for my research papers, because I felt like I would type stuff in and it just would never really get at what exactly I was trying to find. And that went for like Google Scholar, EBSCOhost, you know, anywhere. Wherever I typed it in, I didn't really ever feel like it hit the nail on the head with what I was looking for. And it wasn't until I went to library school and learned about how to search on the internet that I like realized and got really mad that we don't learn this in like middle school, that there's some like really simple tricks that you can use to make your search speak the language of a searching database. What do I mean by the language of a searching database? So databases and search engines of really any kind are very different than human beings. So if you know, as we were all sitting here and we were talking about, this is my topic, you know, we're all humans and we can string words together in a way that makes sense to us as a topic, right? Search engines don't have that capability. So if you say to them, I want to study how Roe has impacted birthing people, and I don't remember what the rest of your topic was. Who terminate. Yes, for medical reasons, right? The database would say, okay, so you want articles about Roe. Okay, so you want articles about terminating for medical reasons. Okay, you want articles about birthing people. And you're like, no, I want those together. I only want things that overlap those, right? And that's what the search engine doesn't really understand, is that contextual piece that fits it together. But there are tools we can use to tell the search engine to do that for us. And these tools work anywhere that you've got that search bar, to, you know, varying. So some are more powerful than others, but it'll work in all of them. And the biggest one of these tools is called a Boolean operator. Has anybody used a Boolean operator before? A couple of people. You didn't know you were going to learn computer science today in the last part of your day. Sorry. So these Boolean operators are just basically three different words. They are in caps. The words are and, or, and not. I'm going to open a little Google Doc here. So who wants to volunteer their topic?
Suicide assessment and safety planning?
Yes. So if I were to just copy paste that into a database, it would give me articles about suicide, it would give me articles about assessment, it would give me articles about safety, and it would give me articles about planning. Ugh. Millions of things, and none of them work, right? So if we use our tools, which the first one of them is these Boolean operators, it's going to give us a much more targeted search. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to kind of break my topic down. I'm going to blow this up. I'm going to break my topic down into kind of its key ideas, right? And that's going to be the basis of what I put between the Boolean operators. So you kind of have two key ideas, right? Suicide assessment and then safety planning. And in between each of those ideas, we want to put our Boolean operator. So these Boolean operators, each one does a different thing. The and tells the database, give me this plus this. So I only want scholarly articles that have topic 1 plus topic 2. So that's kind of what we would want to use here, right? Based on that logic, what do you think the or would do?
Either or.
Yeah, either or.
Yeah.
So that could be like a really good idea if you have something like I'm trying to think of one of your topics where, like immigration, right? So like there's a lot of different ways to say immigration. You could say migrate, you could say emigrate, you could even like have like refugee status in there. And so if you wanted to search for all of those different ways of saying that, you could put an or in there, and then it would tell the database like, give me any of these rather than just one. By the same logic, what do you think not would do? Exclude. Yeah. So not is really powerful for those like frustrating situations where, let's say you only want to search for populations under 18, right? You want to search for like children and young adults, but you're getting all this stuff about adults. You could put not adult, and it would suck all those out, giving you like a much more targeted approach. Okay, how do we feel about that? Feel pretty good? Okay. So that's number one. I'm gonna pop this in to a search engine. Let's do a little EBSCO action here. So we see how many articles, 104, not too bad, but like it's still not great, right? Computerized suicide prevention, kind of there, but not really, kind of there, but not really, right? It's probably closer than if we didn't have it, but there's some other components we need. The next kind of set of tools that we have at our disposal are our punctuation marks. Has anybody used punctuation in a search before? Yeah? So the biggest one is quotation marks. Quotation marks need to go around your phrases. This tells the database this is a phrase, right? This is not give me articles with suicide, give me articles with assessment. It is give me articles with suicide assessment as a phrase. So this is kind of on the fly. I hope that this, there we go. Now we're down to 5. Like, oh my gosh, it's so different, right? Ooh, this one looks really good. Safety planning and structured follow-up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were doing the actual searching, is there a reason that you put them both in the first search line instead of like suicide assessment and then like how there's the and there and then doing safety planning?
That is a great question. Yes. You could do it either way.
Okay.
Yeah. So I personally tend to do this where I like write my strategy on a Google Doc so that I can paste it wherever I want.
Gotcha.
But if your brain likes the idea of having each different keyword in a different line with the Boolean operator drop down, you can absolutely do it that way too. So just to show you, if I did it like that, same results.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's like one of those things that, again, like regardless of what database you go to, it'll give you the option to do it, in these different ways. So here we've got the and with the 2 lines. You can add more, right? If your topic's very big. Same here. Same with, here's Web of Science, right? We've got our and here. So they all rely on this Boolean logic. And again, you could pop it all in one line. You can separate it out, whatever feels best. Okay. The last thing that I think is really, really useful for for especially the topics like those at the doctorate level where you're very niche, right? You're like in a very specific place, is that sometimes you want to like broaden out a little bit. And that can be done with something called a wildcard symbol or a truncation symbol, which in most databases is just a little asterisk. So what this does is it fills in the blank for part of the word. Where are you? Okay. So an asterisk will tell the database to search for the root word and any ending. So like if I were going to search for suicide like that, it would search for suicide, suicidality, suicidal, right? So all those different endings, which I think especially for English language speakers is really nice because like there's so many words that mean the same thing and there are so many different spellings of those words. It's also like a lot more inclusive, right? So if you think about something like Latino, Latina, Latinx, Latine, right? You could just do Latin with an asterisk and that will search for all of the different preferred endings to that word, right? Same with like with gender, right? So you can even do something like that and it'll fill in that letter. So that's a really, really nice trick. Again, especially as we're kind of in the people-focused disciplines, having that option is super nice for a lot of different reasons. I think I'm going to kind of leave it at that just because this is like the most overloady part of our of our day. But how did that feel to everybody?
That's so helpful.
Yeah. I mean, even just in our what I would say is spend a little bit of time like crafting one of these. Again, on YouTube, I've got like a deep dive into this. And you'll see, even with our little search that we did really quickly, it went from 104 to 5 articles. Like it just really narrows it down. We could put it back up there a little bit by adding our asterisk back in, just out of curiosity. Oh, still 5. But yeah, so it just really refines things. And again, because wherever you've got your search bar in any website, this will work. So Google Scholar, the databases, anything that you can kind of find with the search bar, it relies on this Boolean logic, what we call it. So it's really useful. Yeah.
If you wanted to also search for risk assessment, that term, could you do like suicide or like quote suicide or?
You sure
risk?
could.
Okay, is that how that would go?
Yes, it absolutely would. Something like that.
Yeah.
What was the second part? Safety planning? And let's say there was like other ways you wanted to say safety planning. You could do, it's giving me some suggestions here, but like safety counseling, right? So if you wanted to do a bunch of different ors with a bunch of different ways of saying that thing or a bunch of related things, you can do that as well. Yeah. It's so nice. It's sort of this like, once you start to do it, you'll be doing this kind of thing a lot. And once you start to do it, you kind of get the hang of the like, here's where I broaden, here's where I narrow. And it gives you just this like much more salient list of resources that is just so much easier to comb through than the like millions and millions that you get before you have these little tricks in your tool belt. So
Let's see if that runs without it.
yeah, let's do it. 1:30. Yeah. But now we get worker safe. Yeah, we get some stuff that's like pinging the right words, right, but not in the right way. This is a little extra thing. Do you all feel okay with an extra moment? You can actually tell all of these databases where to search for the word. So we can refine it again by searching only in the title, for example. Because the title is going to be where like the most salient words are, right? This might give us 0, 4. Yeah. But it's really nice. Oh, this second one probably is really good. Yeah, so we can make it a little broader and we could do the abstract, right? But that way we're making it even more refined and specific without losing, Yeah, this second one. See, now I get like excited. It's like a treasure hunt. Um, yeah, so great question. Yeah. And so I would say play around with it. Eventually, when you start to figure out your topic and what words really are getting used by the folks that are writing the literature on your topic, you start to kind of be able to have this in your brain and just pop it in anywhere, which is why I like the Google Doc too, because you can kind of evolve your strategy as you figure out your topic and figure out who's writing about it and what they're writing about and stuff like that. Okay, let's rotate to reference management, and then we'll wrap up and do a little drive-by of the books and then go downstairs. Sound good? Okay, so reference management systems. One of the really nice things about using my laptop is that I can just show you my reference management system. So I use Zotero, as I mentioned earlier. Has anybody else ever used Zotero? Or
I downloaded it and gave it a try, but I wasn't like, it was not pulling the article.
Oh, really? Okay, got it. Yeah. There's, shoot me an email and we can talk about, like if you, after today, still are having that problem, we can troubleshoot. Has anybody used a different reference management system before? What have you used?
I started with Mendeley.
Oh, Mendeley, okay, yeah. I don't think Rutgers has Mendeley anymore, which is a little sad.
Okay.
So I think we've migrated to, like, if you want to use a subscription one, RefWorks or EndNote. But then there's always Zotero too.
Do you like RefWorks? No?
I just, Zotero to me feels like the most intuitive, and also the free part of it, like that you'll never lose it even when you leave, I think is really nice. So yeah.
Does it have good annotations?
It does. It really does. Yeah. It's very nice. I love it. It's so great. I've converted like everyone I know. Like I'm like a Zotero evangelist. So for those of you that haven't used a reference management system before, it's basically a way to save a paper, both the PDF of the paper and the data associated with the paper that you need to make a citation, into a library. So as you start to gather literature, which you're going to gather a lot of literature over the course of your program, it is a really, really nice way to not have to be like, where's that paper? I read that paper 3 years ago and now I need it. Like, where did it go? I don't know. So having it all here is really nice. I could do a day-long boot camp about Zotero, but we'll keep it really short. The way that I organize my Zotero is that I have like active research topics, I have papers for class, and then I have like stuff that I've actually used for presentations or articles that I've published, things like that. I've got it all saved here. But all of these kind of work the same way. So if you try them out and you decide that like Zotero is not the one, you want to try one of the other ones that we offer, they all have this like similar functionality of like having the PDF, having the information for the citation, and being able to export that. All of them have plugins. The plugins are for your browser and for Word or Google Docs or whatever like you use to write your papers. So for example, I kind of use Word and Google Docs, but once you download Zotero and you start saving papers to Zotero, which we'll talk about in a second, Word will have a little Zotero option for you. And same goes for Google Docs, or if you use Pages or whatever. On that, it lets you add the citation directly from your library. So you're writing, you talk about somebody's idea and you want to cite them, right? You click that button, it'll ask you what format you want your citation in. As far as I know, we're all using APA 7 at this point. Click OK. And then it'll give you this little search bar. Wait, where did it go? Come back. You'll search for like the author or the title of the paper, right? So I'm going to cite myself. You'll click enter, and it'll give you the in-text citation. When you're done, let's say you finished writing, you've got all your in-text citations in there, you just click add bibliography, and everything you've cited gets generated.
Does it alphabetize it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most beautiful thing I've ever
It's
seen.
so good. It's so good. It's just the amount of work that it takes away is just incredible. Like you don't, and it's really, especially for APA, it's really good. Like I would still scan it to make sure like things are italicized the way they're supposed to or whatever. But like it's an open source piece of software, so people are always fixing like the little bugs that come with the formatting and stuff. So it's just, yeah. So like, let's say that let me pretend I'm citing like a bunch of different things here. I'll just pretend that I'm like adding things in. What's another thing I have in my library? Just like citing people at Rutgers.
You can find the actual article, so it's not like if you have like multiple authors who wrote different things.
Yep, and it'll format all of that for you.
Multiple things, you're able to find the exact one.
Yeah, and it'll format it all for you. So like if you're citing multiple people at once, if you're citing, and then it's all there. Isn't it so nice?
So,
It's
okay,
so
this
good.
is going to sound, I don't know how this is going to sound, but like the thing that's like crushing my head right now
Yeah.
is like, I need the physical, I need something
Physical?
physical in my hand that I can like highlight, write next to, and then recall and
Yeah.
put it in my article.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just wondering, like you'd have to remember all of that and then remember like where it went.
Yeah.
Where you put it and all that.
So what I would recommend, I definitely know a lot of people, and I myself, I'm like sort of like that. Like I have my iPad I literally bought a screen protector that feels like paper because I need the like.
I'm looking at, I'm like, oh no, like I shouldn't waste my money on that thing too.
No, seriously, like it helps a lot. If we ever want to do like a demo of like iPad Girl with Zotero, like I literally just have Zotero on my iPad. Like I don't use it for Netflix. I just use it for Zotero. But yeah, because I need that too. So what I do, or what I recommend for folks that like actually want to print it out is, actually what we'll do right now is I'll show you like saving it in Zotero, and then we can talk about like strategies to have your digital library so that the citations are all there with the physical stuff.
Yeah, or even if I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is like 2028. But when you can like highlight what you want to say,
Yeah,
put that into what you're, like, you know, putting it in or paraphrasing it or whatever you
Mhm.
need to do, and then somehow it intuits that it's what you want.
yeah. Well, we can talk, I think we talked about like quotes and stuff, managing that. So there's like a really nice annotation feature in Zotero too.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that'll alleviate some of that.
Yeah, so
as
I'd
well.
love to see that. I mean, we don't have to spend time on it today. And
No, let's do it. This is really, I think that this is the biggest stressor when I meet doc students, it's the biggest stressor. Managing all of that. How do you manage it? You know, and I think like these reference management systems really help if you know these little tricks.
Do you have a YouTube video on that?
I do.
Okay, great.
And we offer a workshop series on Zoom. So let me show you real quick. They might not be uploaded yet, but if you go to our event calendar here, yeah, so like, oh, here's one. Yep, September 5th, 10 to 11. There's a workshop on this, so you can get an even deeper dive.
idea there.
Yeah, so, yeah, libraries.rutgers.edu/events is where all those go. They're usually taught by my colleague Francesca. She's incredible, and they're just really nice. They're just like super helpful. So she'll give you even more tips than the ones that we're covering right now. But let's just do a quick moment where we pretend that we want to save something that we found in our search to Zotero, and then we want to annotate it, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm not really covering like the downloading process, but basically like on my YouTube video and also on the workshop, you'll get a sense of like how to download, what you need. But I have a browser plugin for Zotero. It lives up here. And if you noticed, it just turned into a little piece of paper because it recognizes that this is an article. If it were a book, it would turn into a book. It's just the best. I love it. So what you do is you just click on that little plugin. You tell it where to save. So let's say this is for a paper for a class. You're going to put it in the folder that you made for that class. I'm just going to save it to the folders are right there, yeah. And if it's not one of these like last used ones, you can click more and it'll give you all of them. Oh, and just a side note, if you're working on a group project, there are group libraries. So you don't have to like swap citations or, you know. So I'm gonna just save it to my general library, but if I was using it for a specific reason, I would put it in a folder. You can even tag it. So like, let's say you're doing research and you just want to do the research on, you're doing more general research on post-Roe America, right? You could write post-Roe as a tag, you know, and have it tagged that way. You can see that it's found the PDF here. I'm going to click done. I'm going to open Zotero. There it is with all the info. It's kind of, I don't know how to zoom in. Tools, view. Font size, bigger. There we go, it's a little better. So this is the article that I saved. Here's all the information that you would need to cite it. Here's the PDF. So it's got it all. Here's how you annotate that PDF. You're gonna double click. It's gonna open it. It's got the whole article here, right? This is why I really like having a tablet because then you can use like a stylus to actually like physically highlight.
You're changing my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm like looking at iPads right now.
Well, I think if you get it through, is Kite and Key the Rutgers like tech store? You get a discount. So what I did is I bought mine while I was in my master's at University of Michigan, and they did like the same thing. I bought like the old model because I knew I didn't need like bells and whistles, and then I got like the 20% discount or whatever. And then they let me, I think they have like a payment, like an interest-free payment plan. So I paid in 2 installments. So I paid like $100 twice, and then that was it. Like, and I've used it for 5 years now, and it's like the best. So, not saying you have to do that, but I do think if you want that like sensation of highlighting or writing, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So you can have on your tablet, you can have that article, you can take a stylus and highlight the things that you'll save it that way.
And then when you're in class and you have to open your computer, it'll be there. Isn't that amazing? It's so good. So, but it's so good. And then like, so here we go. Here's my highlight. And then let's say you want, I wouldn't recommend like direct quoting something as big as this, but let's say you want a direct quote, right? Or let's say you want to annotate that. Hello, saved. Now whenever I go to that, my little note is there. But let's say I want to quote this in my paper, right? I'll just copy it.
Or you can paraphrase in your little comment book.
There, yes, you could write your paraphrases. Oh, gee, I'm gonna start doing that. That's so smart. In my paper here, I just copied my highlight. I'm gonna go to my paper. I'm gonna paste. It adds the citation with the page number. You don't even have to pay the page number. It's there. Isn't that amazing? I love that y'all are geeking out with me about this. And then my annotations there too. So let me get rid of that.
Compare like the iPad to the laptop.
Yeah, tell me everything you use.
Yeah.
Is it too much? Like if we have a laptop, because I already have a laptop, I was trying to download it, but then we get an iPad. Like, are we trying to do too much? Are we trying to carry too much?
I don't think so.
Technology?
So I don't really so y'all are mostly doing your program at like remotely, right? You're here 1 weekend a month, is that right? Okay. So what I do is I use my iPad for the reading and the highlighting. So when I sit down at night, y'all are gonna be doing this too. I finish my regular job, and then I sit down at night with my 100 pages of reading. That's when I use the iPad. So I read, I highlight. then as long as you're on Wi-Fi, your Zotero will sync back to your laptop. Then when I get to class, I read it off my laptop. Or if you're more of a physical person, you take the PDF you annotated, you print it. It's all there.
Well, I mean, if I have an iPad, I'm not gonna need.
Yeah.
Like when I was in graduate school.
I feel like I'm an
first time at
iPad
work,
salesman,
I printed
like-
out my papers, but I'm, like, you know, I was able to print out
Oh,
my
totally.
PDFs for free at work.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't have that anymore, so I would just
Yeah.
probably am going to invest in another iPad.
Yeah, I don't mean to be like, buy more tech, you know, like that's not what I'm trying to do at all. But I do think if you need that sensation, it is a nice way to extend that digital library in a way that is tactile and helpful for like the physical part. So you could also just print everything out and highlight it and have like save a copy in Zotero, print a copy, file it away, you know. But you could also do that. If that is more your vibe, then I support it 100%. So I know people that do that, and that works very well for them. So, but yeah, so it's just a great tool. On YouTube or at the workshops that we hold, you'll get even more about it. But it is just such a time saver. Even like, let's say you read something and you wanna. You read like a sentence that really stuck with you and you can't remember where it's from, right? You can search it here. So like,
How long? Like,
I know.
When I was in graduate school, like, it was like, oh my God, like, where did I read that?
Oh my gosh,
And
it's
then
the
it
worst.
just, like, was like lost in history.
I know, and you're like, I want to mention it.
400 tabs open until you get
And the tabs are like, I can't delete this tab from August 30th because I know that when I write my final paper, I gotta just like
That was me, I was a tabster.
oh my God. And your computer's like wheezing, like it's like hot.
My computer went on hospice years ago.
So you could search like epigenetic trauma and it'll come up with all the articles that have that phrase, right? So it's just really nice. It's a good tool. It's a relief, right? And it's a learning curve, you know, like there's download issues, there's like weird things where, you know, you like learn the quirks, right? So there's that learning curve that happens with like any new thing that you're learning, but honestly, it changes your life as an academic researcher. It really does. So.
Yes, it sounds like it changes, like, that could cut out many hours of just like
Right?
digging and holding and tabbing and.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Ink.
so much.
Yes. So we'll leave it there, if that's okay with anyone, unless we have any more like pressing questions.
I have a pressing question.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, are the features different from, because I know you're using a MacBook, right?
Yeah.
Than an HP or like Windows?
Should be the same. Yeah. You'll they've got Zotero for Mac, Zotero for Windows, but I've never seen any like differences in functionality or anything like that. So I would say most people that I help like figure out Zotero are on Windows computers, and I've never seen a difference. Yeah. Other than like the little weird Mac like touches that they add to the style of things. But okay, so we're gonna do like a little loop to the social science books. How do we feel about like bringing our bags with us? Is that okay? Before we go, I do have a little survey for you. It takes about 30 seconds. You can do it on your phone or take a picture and do it later. But it's just like how today went and like where I can improve for next year, all that good stuff. So.
5 stars.
Oh, thanks. This is always like my favorite thing is meeting. I really love working with doc students. I think partially because I am one. And I also really love working with the DSW because y'all are working professionals, most of you, and I deeply relate to that as well. So, but yeah, beyond today, if there's anything you need, shoot me an email, book an appointment. You know where to find me now.